Oh, there, mate. Don't worry. Might not happen. No need to look so glum. Oh, hi there. This is the Suzuki Swift, and isn't it just about the saddest looking car you've ever seen? Which is a bit of a shame, because it's actually a really decent small car. It's got a manual gearbox. It's only got the lightest touch of electrification. It's practical for a small car, and it's quite affordable in the scheme of things. But is it actually any good? Or am I going to have to give it the bad news and make it even sadder looking? I'm sorry. Let's get on with the review. Finally, it's a new car that costs under 20 grand by about £300, and that's for a version without alloy wheels and with manual air conditioning. This is the top spec Ultra model, which is £20,800, but that still undercuts its rivals like the Hyundai i20 and the Skoda Labia. So yeah, it's a very affordable, as I said, in the scheme of things for a current new car. This blue paint is lovely though, but it is £700. And yeah, as well as looking like quite a sad face, this bonnet shut line annoys me every time I see one of these. It's like the Chris Bangle era 6 Series. I can't unsee this line across the front of it. But anyway, looks aren't everything, clearly. Let's get inside and check out why I think this is one of the best small cars out there. Actually, let's not do inside first. Let's do the outside first while I'm getting sunburnt. I went to Morocco last week to ride motorbikes and I came back bronzed. Well, parts of me did. Not my peak. Yes, as I said, this version gets alloy wheels. They're 16 inches, and it's actually quite a small car, 3.86 meters long. I don't know why I said actually. Obviously, it's a small car, but it is about that much shorter than the Ford Fiesta. God rest its soul. This weighs just under 1.4 tons. It's got a 1.2 litre non-turbo engine with some mild hybridness and about 82 horsepower, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, it's just quite a boxy shape. So hopefully when I hop in the back, we'll find out whether I fit or not. Well, hopefully we will. We will find out exactly that. Can you tell I've not done a car video for a while? It's just been this. That's motorbiking, not masturbating an ocelot. Okay, on to one of my favourite things about the Suzuki Swift. That's how well equipped it is. Even the entry-level model gets this 9-inch screen, which is a little bit slow, a little bit laggy, but it's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. And you get that as standard. You also get a reversing camera as standard and rear parking sensors as standard. You also get heated front seats as standard. So yeah, loads of stuff for the 19,000, was it £800 model? But anyway, let's look at this. It has got radar cruise on all models as well. It's got lane keep assist. I'll show you the most annoying thing in a second, but otherwise it's mostly good. As I said, you get automatic aircon in this top spec one, manual on the entry level model. You got a little bit of a digital dash in there in the middle, but otherwise it's analog dials. The glove box is a full size as well. Now it's all hard plastics, but Suzuki's done a fair job of making it look a bit nicer with these lighter coloured kind of diamond print plastics there. Yes, it's absolutely fine in here. You've got a couple of cup holders, a USB-A, a USB-C, loads of places to charge your phone. No wireless charger, though it does have to be said. Time to show you the thing that has annoyed me the most about this car. It's egregious. Watch this. Right, I want to turn off the speed limit warning. You've got to hold both of these trip knobs in. So you need two hands. You hold them in, 1, 2, 3, and then you get this menu, then you twist one of them down to TSR, press it in, then you go to excess speed warn method, then you go to no notification. That's a massive faff. You need both hands and you can't do it when you're moving, obviously, because it just doesn't work, and also it's a bit dangerous. So you're gonna forget to do it. Luckily, when you're at motorway speeds, there's enough road noise that you can't really hear it anyway, but that's a faff. Hurrah! 6'3" me fits in the back of the Suzuki Swift, just about. That's my driving position. I've got a little bit of knee room, quite a lot of foot room, and headroom is fine, apart from I hit my head on this when I get out, so I have to be a bit careful to duck under that. So yeah, it's about average for the class, to be honest. They've got a okay sized door bins with cutouts for drinks bottles there. No charging to speak of, no centre armrest, a little bit of a hump in the middle of the floor, but the middle seat's quite narrow, so if 3 adults get back here, it's going to be about as comfortable as watching, you know, those films with your parents when you were younger. Yes, the basic model doesn't get heater vents in the back, so you might get a bit cold. This one does. That's literally it. The Isofix is easy to get to, and the doors open okay-ish. So getting a child seat in here won't be the worst, and they'll actually have a little bit of room to spread their dirty little feet. They might not be dirty, you might wash your children. Apparently it's recommended. Just like me, the Suzuki Swift bum is a bit less depressed than its face. It just looks a bit more like the old Swift that we know and love. Shame we don't get a sport model anymore. You get a hybrid badge on this. That's a lie. It's just a mild hybrid. Inside, the boot's not actually that big on paper. 265 litres. That's 115 litres down on the Skoda Fabia. It's smaller than the i20 by a fair bit as well. In fact, it's about the same size as the Hyundai i10, which is actually a class below this. That's like a city car. This is more of a super mini. But look, there's a big old load lip there, so it's going to be a pain to pick heavy things out. But it's a useful boxy space, no frills, no hooks, no 12 volts or anything like that. Oh, there is a hook. I lied, there's a really hidden hook down there. But for me, that's still going to be big enough for getting to the airport with 2 people's luggage. And you can fold the rear seats down and you've got over 600 litres of space as well. So there we go. Basic, but roomy-ish. Let's go and drive it. Right, let's go for a drive in the Suzuki Swift. That is the key. It's very simple, but you'll notice it's keyless. So you get keyless ignition on all models. It starts up a real 3-cylinder thrum, which makes itself felt when you rev it hard. But as we'll get on to, you kind of can't hear it when you're plodding along on the motorway. Sorry, let me just turn my fanny down a little bit there. But yeah, I've really enjoyed driving this car. It's been refreshing driving something with a 5-speed manual gearbox and really quite good visibility out as well. Like rear corners are a little bit blind spotty, but yeah, it's actually just a really easy car to drive. There you go. Look, if I was in an Audi Q8, I wouldn't have been able to move for those cyclists. I would have killed them all. Yes, right. Gear shift, really easy, quite satisfying. Clutch is really nice and light. And if you're into sporty driving, you can heel and toe in this really, really easily. And trust me, you'll be tempted to, because you need to work the engine reasonably hard, but it handles nicely. It's got a slightly soft turn in, but it grips really well. It's one of those just normal hatchbacks that puts a smile on your face at every turn when you're driving it hard. Now, engine-wise, there's only one engine choice in the Suzuki Swift these days. It's a naturally aspirated, so non-turbo, 1.2 litre, 3-cylinder. And it's not that fast, but I've not really found it to be a problem, to be honest. You just have to be in the right gear. It's got 82 horsepower. I think 0 to 62 takes 12.5 seconds, which is essentially a couple of weeks, but I really don't care, because you get to change gears yourself and rev it out, and then it bongs at you for going slightly too fast because I didn't have half an hour to turn the speed limit warning off. I really like it. I did a lot of motorway miles in this yesterday. I went up to Birmingham and back, which was about 260 miles as a round trip. And I thought, oh, 5-speed manual, it's going to be dreadful. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Yes, there is an appreciable amount of noise from the wind and tyres when you're doing, I was doing a bit more than 70 to be fair, but even though I was doing possibly a bit more than 70, I still averaged 58 miles per gallon. It's got a 37 litre fuel tank, so by my maths, this will do about 460, 470 miles on its tiny tank of fuel, which is just brilliant, I think. That's really good fuel economy. And the actual Suzuki delivery driver who brought it down to me from Milton Keynes a week ago, he got up to 70 miles per gallon on a motorway run. It's genius. Now, it's got that hybrid badge on the back. It is just a mild hybrid, but it does actually show you the power flow and when it's recharging its little battery and all that kind of stuff. And I can't really detect the mild hybridness helping your acceleration, but I'm guessing it's there because 82 horsepower, well, this feels a little bit faster than 82 horsepower should, really. And the suspension can be a little bit firm around town, but mostly it's well judged and comfortable. The brake pedal is sometimes a bit soggy at the top, soggy brake pedal, but then sometimes is a bit sharper than you expect, so it's just a little bit inconsistent, but it doesn't make you feel like an amateur when you're driving. It doesn't annoy you. It's just something I've noticed getting into this from other cars. It's just a wonderful, simple car. It's got the wireless CarPlay. I'm struggling to think of things that count against this car, other than this is all plasticky, and some people will say 20 grand's a lot of money, but when you compare it to its rivals, it ain't. Ooh. That lady did not like me grounding out my Suzuki Swift. A couple of other quibbles. No centre armrest, not even an option. I didn't mind on my long drive yesterday, to be honest, but if you want a centre armrest, there isn't one. Also, this is a bit shallow here, so it's hard to rest your elbow on again. So you've got nowhere to go, but the seats actually on the long drive are perfectly fine. They adjust nicely. The steering wheel adjusts in and out as well as up and down, which isn't always the case in cars in this class. And perhaps the final thing to be aware of is that if you pay an extra £1,250, you can have it either as an automatic, which is a CVT, not driven it, going to go on a limb and say get the manual, or you can spend that same £1,250 and get it with Suzuki's four-wheel drive system that we used to have on the Ignis. Small four-wheel drive hatchback with a manual gearbox. Take me to an Italian ski resort and let me crash it into all the Panda 4x4s, please. Heel and towing. Gas. And actually, just before a conclusion, I should point out it has the most Japanese warning message of all time. It says, do not operate your unit while driving. You've been told. And it is made in Japan as well. I should point that out. It's now made in Japan. I think it always was. Maybe it wasn't always. It is now made in Japan. Oh no, an empty car park. Conclusion time. I didn't just do that. That was someone else. If you couldn't tell, I really like the Suzuki Swift. I like its charm. I like the fact it gives you everything you need, and actually it's really quite fun to drive. And actually not too bad on long journeys either. It's very efficient as well. It comes basically fully loaded. You don't need to stick any options on, which is good because there aren't any. It's just those two trim levels. The downsides, well, the brakes are a bit grabby, the interior is a bit plasticky, and there's nowhere to rest your arm either on the left or on the window, and it looks quite sad. And rivals have bigger boots, but for the price, that's sort of nitpicking. You pays your money, you takes your choices. I really like it. I'm going to give it 8 Tim Roadies out of 10. It's been really fun to drive a small manual hatchback again with what is basically just a normal petrol engine. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, go and get yourself an Easter egg, maybe one of those chocolate croissant ones from Waitrose for 16 bloody pounds. Go down to the comments, leave me the Japanese word for my face is sad, but my soul is happy, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Arigatou gozaimashita.